Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to another discussion circle for our new Quran Literacy Program. This is our second discussion, right? Or third? I'm already lost. But, anyways, it's Ramadan, so I got that excuse. I hope you all are having a good Ramadan so far, inshallah. First day. This Ramadan, we are fundraising $30,000 to return our women led Jumma'a program to our mosque. So for those of you who are kind of new to our space, for the first 8 years, we were running our women-led Jumma program. And in order to successfully launch the Quran Literacy Program, we paused that Jumma program so that we could start this and really launch it in a successful way. And now we're in our second year, it's up and running, and we've gotten a kind of a handle on all of the workload. Now we want to start phasing back in our original Jumma program. But in order to do that, we need to make sure that we don't burn out running two programs at the same time. I know when we first started, everyone was saying, "Oh, startups, they only last 2 years." There's some crazy statistic like about most startups die within the first 5 years. Alhamdulillah, within 10 years, we've now successfully launched two successful startups. So part of that process is just being completely attuned to what we can handle in terms of workload. And so this year we are fundraising that full $30,000. If we are able to meet that goal, then next year, inshallah, we'll start slow, but we'll start phasing back in our women-led Jumma program. And maybe even in the following years, we might start doing pop-ups around the US. So these are all the plans in the future, but we're not going to push ourselves to make it happen if we don't have the funds to make it happen. So I don't want to promise it, but I do want to let you guys know that is our goal, inshallah. We also want you to save the date for Friday, March 14th. We are, inshallah, going to have an online Ramadan fundraiser, fun Qiyam night. So it's going to be late night, 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. And we're going to be hearing from a few of our Quran Literacy Program graduates from last year. They're basically going to be giving sort of mini speeches based on what they learned last year reading the whole Quran with our program. And inshallah, we hope that they can be our three khatibas in the next year. So that's kind of our fundraising night. It'll be a fun night that you guys can come join us online. It's going to be online only. So with that, we'll get started. So again, there's no breakout rooms today because we have a super short discussion. But I thought I'll do just a really quick icebreaker. Not everybody is familiar with what a date is. So the date is the fruit. It's a dried fruit. It's grown on palm trees. Usually during the time of Ramadan, when Muslims are fasting, we like to break our fast with a date. That's the sunnah or the legacy of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. But as you go around the world, there are many different ways to eat dates. So many different recipes, things to stuff inside the date. Some people like it plain. Some people like, to do fancy things with it. So just if anyone wants to share, what's your favorite way to eat a date?
I raised my hand because I promised my accountability partner I was going to speak up today. So, a benefit of having one, but I'm actually on my way to an iftar, and I feel like I can show you guys
Oh,
chocolate covered dates, as if they weren't sweet enough already. But I saw a recipe on TikTok where you can stuff them with like mascarpone or peanut butter, and I did one where I just put in like dried oranges because I like chocolate covered oranges, and so it's always a hit when we take it to iftar.
nice. You get the fancy date award already. Okay, there's a popular question. Okay, so I'll just go in order on my screen. So, Lara?
So my favorite way to eat dates is this candy recipe that my dad, so I am from the Christian tradition, so he makes it around Christmas time. I don't know even how to describe it. It has a lot of sugar in it and like nuts and dates, and it kind of we call it date loaf, which doesn't sound good, but it's delicious. And you kind of just like cut it up, almost kind of like fudge, if you think of like a fudge kind of consistency. It's delicious.
Amazing. Yeah, if someone wrote yummy recipe, maybe if you guys want to write the recipes in the chat, that would be helpful. But no pressure.
My favorite way to eat dates is with stuffed with pecan and dark chocolate inside. But then like that tray that she was just talking about looked insane. So that's really awesome. And then I just saw this like meme online. So basically it says the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam combined cucumbers with ripe dates, saying the heat of the latter is reduced by the coolness of the former. So it's like dates with cucumber stuff inside. I'm like, what? So I need to try that.
Okay.
Never heard of that in my life, but
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to share that. I'll put it on the Slack.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's a new one. I will have to try that out.
I recently did the beef bacon wrapped around the dates, and I love it because it's sweet and savory, but that's a cheat.
Why is that a cheat? That sounds amazing.
It's not every day, you know.
Oh, I see.
So our family recently got really into kind of making like Snickers out of dates. So it's a date with peanut butter, cashews, whole cashews, and then we melt like dark chocolate on top and then put it in the freezer.
Ooh.
If anyone has ever had like frozen Snickers, but then wants to be healthy. So yeah, our favorite recipe in our home.
I grew up just eating dates straight, but recently one of my friends shared that she puts butter and then like malt and sea salt on top, and I've been trying that and it's so good. And I especially during suhoor, I feel like it's like a good sweet savory end to the meal. So that's been really nice.
Oh my God, I'm kind of regretting asking this question because now, now I want to try them all. Okay, Shaukat.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yeah, I liked it by itself with my tea, but my daughter actually, for many years from now, she started making lots of date things like a nut inside and then put cream on it, things like that. But the best one she made, I like, is she put nuts and chocolate chips and dates, kind of. She actually make the puree of the date, and then she made she put little kosher salt too, so you can actually bite the salt. And then she make a ball, because we have this my mom used to make the coconut ball. And I think she just want to do that for me. And so that's my favorite thing. But she also did another crazy thing, because I like it spicy, so she make few of them, put chili in it. So it just I don't know how to describe. It's like a food from heaven.
Okay. That's a strong advertisement.
Ramadan Mubarak, everybody. Well, I was just going to say mine is pretty simple, especially during Ramadan. I just love the plain date, especially when, upon breaking fast, it tastes just amazing then. But if I was going to indulge myself, it's super simple. I just get like the chocolate covered almonds from Aldi's and stuff that inside.
I actually like to turn my dates into a tiramisu. I saw a recipe online and it's pretty good. It's like dates, mascarpone cheese, honey, cocoa powder, and espresso powder, and then some cream. And then I just kind of follow a recipe of like a regular tiramisu, and then it's actually really easy to make. And so I usually like to eat it like that.
Okay, if it's that easy to make, you have enough time to send us all a sample, right? All right, awesome. Yeah, so the reason why we are doing these icebreakers at the beginning of our discussions this year is to bring home that point, that verse in the Quran that God has told us that God created us in nations and tribes so that we can get to know one another. And so we want to just keep highlighting our beautiful diversity in fun ways. I know this is the second food one in a row. Next time, I was thinking today to ask what's a date that you always remember. But then this one, I think I was just hungry. So I asked this at the last minute. So I thought I'd just open it up since we're still, in those beginning phases of reading the Quran this year. I just want to open it up to general feedback. So, what is a verse that you read? And again, everybody's reading at a different pace. What's a verse that you read this past month that was meaningful to you, and why?
Okay, so really quick. My husband is incarcerated. We knew each other for about 40 years and then we reconnected. And this year when recently when we were talking, I was telling him that I'm, with this group, and he's also Muslim while he's incarcerated. And because he and I have known each other for so long and we're both older, and we're sharing a lot about ourselves, so that when he gets out, we just have that really good connection. So when I happened to read the part where it said there was talk about doing fasting and being a garment for each other, I don't know, it just like boom. So when I talked to him, I said, right now we don't have a garment. We're talking, and we're creating our garment. Um, the threads are forming. The threads are forming for our garments. So when you come home, um, we'll have we'll have our garments. So that's how I looked at that.
That's
I'm
beautiful. And
sure.
actually, that was going to be one of our questions today. So let's talk about that verse. It's chapter 2, 187. And it's just one part of the verse that says it's talking about spouses and going to them. They are as a garment for you, and you are as a garment for them. So I just wanted to ask, how do people interpret that? How do you interpret this concept of being a garment for one another? What are the functions of a garment? This metaphor for a relationship, a beautiful, loving, respectful, committed relationship. How do you personally interpret this concept of being a garment for one another in a healthy marriage or spousal relationship? And we just got really wonderful interpretation.
Yeah, I think for me, it's more about a garment is used as uh, protection and beautification. So, it's not just, we're trying to beautify ourselves, but also to give ourselves grace. And that's how I see that as, having a spouse, I won't necessarily fit in perfectly with everything. But I think the point is that, like as we grow in the relationship, we grow as people also. And I think we also have to kind of allow for that adjustment, almost like an alteration, where, you have to kind of, sometimes things are going to feel tight, sometimes things are going to not feel, as comfortable. And I think the protection aspect is, I think people wrote on Slack also that kind of appreciating the good and also like talking about the good of the character of your spouse, because um it's not just, like we I think we probably know the weaknesses of our spouses more than anyone, because we are so close to each other and we probably get on each other's nerves more and all of that. And also kind of see the difficulties that come in being in a close relationship. So I think for the outside world, and also as a point of tazkiya, right? To purify the nafs, it's through kind of focusing on the good. And of course, there are times when you have to kind of get intervention, but in terms of everyday to day life and issues, I feel like focusing on the positive and kind of keeping to the point where you know why you guys value each other, where the foundational alliance, like allyship, is why you came together. I think that is why I feel like spouses are garments for each other.
I love that, you know, that concept of growth. We always hear like, yes, spouses need to grow with one another or else they could grow apart. And so that's a really amazing way to look at the concept of a garment, is that it also has to grow with the relationship. That's a really great point.
I think just for me, when I met my husband, that's the first thing that came to my mind. It's like you've always felt like an old pair of jeans because it was just like, it was just more like, just like I felt like we had this instant connection, like we just knew each other. It felt like we had known each other for years, even though we had just met and we'd gotten to know each other. Of course, the relationship definitely matures over time. I'm not saying that it doesn't. It definitely matures. You get to learn more about your partner, as you walk through different challenges and different opportunities within life. But yeah, it's just I think that it just that expression connects well with that verse, at least for me. So I thought I would just put that in the chat.
I did the same thing. I kind of just added to the chat, not to take up more space, but I really respect and just admire this metaphor. I had not really thought about a spouse as a garment. So I hadn't taken a moment, and so thinking about what garments provide us in terms of protection and kind of a feeling of safety and comfort, but also we have to have them match our growth, or even when we lose weight, we gain weight, we grow taller, and so it's so exemplary of this, like how our partners grow with us and still remain providing, and then also like the beauty. I feel like there's beauty in garments, and adorning oneself, and there's a beauty in kind of holding the hand of your spouse. So thank you.
Wonderful. And yes, please take up space. That's what this space is here for. The people who think that way, you are the ones who need to push yourself. So it's everyone's space. We're all sharing it. And we love hearing from everyone. So thank you for sharing that.
Like many people, I really appreciate the strength and the sort of applicability of the metaphor, in that, right, our garments change from season to season, just as our lives change. People talked a lot about growth, adding weight, losing weight, growing taller, as you age, but also, right, in different seasons of our life. In winter, we need more comfort, more warmth, more protection. In summer, we may want to show off more, brighter colors. And so the fact that also our spouses serve different roles to us in different times, and we have different needs at different times, also a wonderful part of the metaphor.
Wonderful reflection. Yeah. And that is such a beautiful part of Islam in general, right? It's always applicable at any moment in your life. It's not this static set of rules that's rigid and unchanging. It's meant to be with us and applicable to every scenario we might find ourselves in.
Okay, so I when I was listening to it this time, you reading it, what stood out to me was the two parts of it. And I think it's something along the lines of your spouses are garments to you and you are garments to them, something like that line. So to me, that talks about how Islam talks about your rights and your responsibilities. So you have the right to be protected, you have the right to be adorned, but you also have the responsibility to protect someone else and adorn someone else. So that to me stood out of both those parts of it.
Excellent. Oh, sorry. Were you still talking? Sorry. What were you saying?
Oh, there we go. No, I was just saying thank you to the person in the chat.
Oh yeah, someone said Nadia, your son is adorable, and then the other son popped in to make sure you say he's adorable too. Yeah, that is a huge point. It's not just one partner providing this garment to the other. It goes both ways, right? And so as you guys read through the Quran this year, you will see just how equitable Islam is when it comes to gender. This is one of the biggest stereotypes, lies, propaganda that has misled even Muslims to think that Islam is something that it's not. And it's a really beautiful through line that we'll all see as we go through the Quran together, that Islam is about equality and equal protection going both ways. So thank you for pointing that out. Anyone else have just a verse that stood out to you, that was meaningful to you, if that you'd like to share?
I love the overall theme in Al-Baqarah about leading by example. And so that's why I put verse 2. It's like 127 to 128, but leading by example and leaving a legacy for our family, our offspring, our children. And that's very inspiring. And that is my purpose for wanting to reconnect with the Quran and really learn it in depth so I can be a better teacher to my children.
The verse that stood out to me, actually, it really resonates with what you just said about the season or the time in your life and how you can interpret different things at different times. And then I felt that a lot. I was reading chapter 2, verse 83. You shall worship none but God, and you shall do good unto your parents and kinfolk and the orphans and the poor, and you shall speak unto all people in a kindly way. I feel like we're at a time where kindness is in short supply. And so it's just it's a good reminder to be constantly keep worshiping and keeping God in our consciousness, but also in living that in our own actions and the words that we use and the way that we treat people. And it's hard when you look around the world and you're not seeing that, but I think it's really important if we as individuals, or me as my own individual, can remember that on a daily basis with all of my interactions, and be as kind as possible, and give as much grace to the people around me, because lots of people right now are going through a lot of different things. And I live in Washington, D.C., so I'm sort of indirectly referencing some of the turmoil that's happening in our country here. But yeah, that was really, I needed to read that this month. So thanks very much.
Good luck to you over there in DC. We're glad we're not there. Someone in the chat said, and without a spouse, is it like being without a garment, exposed, cold, unprotected? Someone else said, what if Allah is our first spouse, our first garment? So these are really wonderful thoughts to have. And also, to the first point, that yes, it's true. Like if you do have a spouse, to remember those without, and to not exclude them, right? And when we're having gatherings, things like that, to make sure that everyone is taken care of, even those without a spouse in our communities.
The verse that spoke most to me or resonated with me, I was talking about how we deal with orphans, and towards the end of that ayah, he says, and had God so willed, he would indeed have imposed on you hardships which you would not have been able to bear. But behold, God is almighty wise. It resonated with me because I've seen things where I felt I was given strength that I hadn't been aware of prior to those experiences, or and certain hardships that I thought I would not have been able to put up with. I somehow had the courage in those moments to deal with them, and that made me realize over time that Allah truly does not give us any challenges or hardships that we are not capable of handling. So each person gets their share of hardship that they can deal with. And and I feel like whenever now I face a challenge or something that is impossible, I try to first think about that this has only come my way because I'm sure Allah has put it inside me to has given me the strength to deal with it.
Yeah, it's kind of the test of this life, is continually finding out just how strong God thinks you are, and being like, no, I don't want to be that strong. But realizing, God is our creator. God knows how strong we each are and what we're each capable of, and will push us when we need that push, and is always there to catch us.
One of the verses that really stood out to me over the past couple of months is 2:62. Where the criteria for salvation is outlined. And there were 3 components. One is belief in God. The second is belief in the last day. the day of judgment. And then the third was living a life with righteous deeds. And this, I just was mind blowing to me. I was born and raised Muslim, and growing up, I always felt like there was a little bit of a, or sometimes a lot of bit of like this like religious elitism, that salvation and inshallah attaining Jannah was something only for the Muslims based on our gift of Islam, and there was no space for, you know, righteous and highly practicing folks of other faith traditions to attain salvation. So seeing it written in such plain language, it just felt so affirming to what I always kind of felt in my heart, around Allah's mercy and sense of justice, and that there was a wider tent, for salvation than what was often kind of taught, as I grew up in Islam. So I just thought this was really beautiful, and I think it also helps to overcome some of those instincts to be spiritually arrogant, about our way of life. Not to say that this isn't beautiful, and I definitely believe in it's like this is the final revelation and all that, but there's often that sense of religious superiority that, I think creates a lot of unnecessary, like animosity towards other people, and vice versa. Other faiths definitely do the same thing. So it just really struck me to see it and like read it for myself and be like, oh, things are a little different than what's often kind of taught and kind of taken for granted.
Beautiful. Yes, this is the whole point of our Quran literacy program, is to take a look at what's going on and to say, we have veered way off. And the only way that we can get back on track is if everybody has direct access to the words of God and reads for themselves and sees. We're going to see lots of verses this year. As you progress in your Quran journey, you're going to see lots of verses that are talking about what it literally means to be a Muslim, not Muslim meaning follower of the last prophet, peace be upon him, but Muslim to be in submission and humility to God. And we're going to see a lot of that. So get ready for a beautiful ride ahead. With that, I think maybe one more, we'll take one more from Eden, and then we'll end so that everyone in LA or on Pacific Standard Time can break their fast. So we'll end with just this last one.
The verse that struck me the most this month was verse 175 from Al-Baqarah, just part of it, which says, "It is they who take error in exchange for guidance and suffering in exchange for forgiveness." And the part about forgiveness was really powerful to me because it highlights the fact that turning away from God is something that keeps people stuck in the pain and the guilt of their own actions without a way to relieve that suffering and without a way to actually improve and grow and approach life in a healthier way. Because and then if it's true that nobody is beyond help and forgiveness, that God is actually all forgiving, then that means that we have to actively work on changing our long ingrained habits and attitudes, and we also have to face the grief of the pain that we cause others. And sometimes guilt and trying to avoid forgiveness can kind of get in the way of properly grieving. And I think that the love and mercy and forgiveness of God that never gives up on anyone is kind of the only way for anyone to actually have the hope of change, because it's the only real motivation for personal responsibility. Since if people made mistakes and then that was it, then they would kind of be cast aside forever, and there would be no point to even trying and continuing to strive for morality. So I feel like the condition of humanity post fall from heaven or the Garden of Eden or whatever is sort of God saying, yes, you messed up. Yes, this is difficult. Yes, this is painful, but try anyway. Keep trying and keep trying again. So yeah, that was what struck me this month.
Thank you. And that is such a beautiful note to end on. You know, Ramadan's just beginning. Inshallah, this is a time of purification and of getting back on track with our purpose here on this earth. So thank you all again for joining. I'm just going to post our donate link again for those of you who joined late. This Ramadan, we are raising $30,000 to, inshallah, bring back our women-led Jumma program. So when we started our Quran literacy program last year, we had to pause that program so that we could successfully launch a second program. This Ramadan, if we're able to raise the full amount, $30,000, then inshallah next year we can start phasing back in our original women-led Jumma program while also maintaining this new Quran literacy program in a way where, you know, we're not burning out, we're not pushing ourselves too hard. That would help us a lot. So if you can donate, please do. We have 3 levels that we're asking, and we're also hopefully soon going to launch a crowdfunding campaign as well. So look out for that email. But if you just go to that link, it'll show you everything that you need to know. And please let your friends and family know, you know, even those who have seen your growth over the years or have heard that you've had such a great time here in our mosque and our movement, please encourage them to donate to our space as well as a way to support you, to support the Ummah at large. Again, our mission here is to empower Muslim women and girls to uplift the whole entire Ummah as a whole. And our vision is a worldwide women-led Islamic Renaissance, and it starts with your participation. So thank you again, everyone. Ramadan Mubarak, and we'll end right now. Assalamu alaikum. Break your fast and take one of those date recipes to go.